Thank you, Hashem. Today's a special day for the Shia because we started exactly 3.5 years ago. So we're halfway through. Started on Sivan 3.5 years ago. Okay. So the schus of our learning. Should have the basic English immediately. For Shleima, for Yechiel Nasim ben Sarah, and Aaron David Halevi ben Menucha de Lester, and Jimmy for your mother.
Abraham Rafael ben Sarah.
Okay, for Shleima. We're on Chavav Amud Beis. Yeah, we stopped in the middle yesterday. It says Lei Habi Yadi Rabbanan. What is this? It's like 7 lines from the top, 8 lines from the top. Lei Habi Yadi Rabbanan Maisi Rugin. We were talking about words. So how do we get into this? Because we were talking about the Yovel, which turns out was a ram. Where did that come from? So it comes from Arabia. That's where the word comes from. Now we're talking about other words. The rabbis didn't know what Sirugin meant. It says that if you read the Megillah b'Sirugin, so you're not Yaitza. Or maybe you are Yaitza. L'mafreya, you're not Yaitza. So what is Sirugin? So Shamuel la'amsa de Bei Rebbe, they heard the maid of the house of Rebbe, the Chazisnu Rabbanan Dabi Aili Paski, that the students were coming into the house, they were coming in group by group. Yeah, this could be very frustrating for the maid who was trying to mop the floor. It doesn't say that's what she's doing, but anyway. So she says, Amra lahu, she says to him, why are you coming in like at intervals? So surugin means intervals. You know, we use surugin when you wash your hands. We call that surugin. Because okay. The rabbis didn't know what chalug lagais was. This is for the Kohen Gadol. I guess when he was away from his house, he wouldn't eat chalug lagais. So Yom Echad, one day Shmuel Amsa de Bei Rebbe the Chazis Lu Gavrit Kamavader Par Pachinai. He was spreading out Par Pachinai. So apparently Par Pachinai, they didn't know what it was. Rashi says it's orchically. Yeah, we say it's purslane in purslane. What is purslane? It's like this weed. Everyone has it in the yard. It's in every yard. It's it has like a little tiny yellow flower. Yeah, it's edible. There is a picture there with the flower, or
kind of looks like the leaves, kind of look cactus-like.
yeah, some of them could be like a fat leaf. That's what he's referring to.
Right.
But otherwise, it's just in the yard, and you could pull it right up. Wow. So, how long are you gonna? How much chalug lagach are you gonna spread out? Okay, so they figured out from the Amsa the Bei Rebbe. She must have had a.
She knew ancient Hebrew.
Oh, is that what it is? She knew ancient Hebrew.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was a different dialect, you know.
Could have been Rabbi Yehuda Nassi's
right.
housekeeper or something.
Very nice.
Yeah, it says here.
You see, it could have been a dialect like Yiddish is like a frozen German. You know, it's like German froze like 500 years ago, and then it's spiced up with Hebrew. But
is that really what Yiddish is?
Yeah. So it could have been that she had a like a Hebrew or something that was or whatever it is. It could be Aramaic or something that was frozen, and then whatever dialect the maids. So Layav Yadi Rabbanan, I assume. What is the Spanish version of Ladino? Is also like a frozen Spanish, and then with some Hebrew. So my Le'av Yad Rabbanan my salsala batrei memeka. you do salsala, and then that will lift you up. What is salsala? So Yom Echad, Shemuel Amsa the Rebbe, the Havas Amrlu Gavra, the Havikam Hapach Psare. They saw someone that was like fixing his hair. She saw someone that was fixing his hair. Amrle ad Masayat Misalsal Besarach. How long are you gonna fix your hair? Now,
But that's a Nazir and Mishnah Nazir. Misalsal, Harayan Yikim. All these terms that are like a Nazir. One of them is Misalsal.
Oh.
By Yosef, that doesn't seem like
by Yosef it says, yeah. So here what we're saying is, yeah, it's funny how they didn't know what that was. Here what we're saying is that you're misalsal with chachma. You take wisdom and you turn it back and forth. And then that will lift you up. Yeah, that's what the pasuk is referring to. It's a pasuk in Mishling. Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like a non-rushed type of learning. You flip it to one side, you flip it to the other side, and okay.
Rabbi, didn't it say that the Yosef was Misalsal?
Yeah, it does say that. So it's surprising that they didn't know what that was. But actually, I don't know if the pasuk does. It's not the pasuk. It's Chazal that say it was Misalsal Basari. V'hunar, no, right? It's no.
Yeah, so Rashi right there.
Rashi says it. So, yeah. He was doing a Maisinaris, it says, or something like that. Or was it afterwards? Whatever the case is, it wasn't in the pasuk. Mai v'tata say b'metata, and yeah, I guess it means swept out with a broom, but hashmed, to destruction. Yom echad Shemuel Amsa the Rebbe Davasamar lechaverte shekuli tatisa v'tati besa. The Amsa the Rebbe, the maidservant of Rebbe, tells her friend, take the tatisa and sweep out the house. Okay, so they understood from that what metata meant. That means a broom.
Oh, matata, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, matata.
In modern Hebrew, matate, that's broom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds, the Yiddish is over here, the tati, it sounds like the father's supposed to be sweeping. But that's, don't take any lessons from that. It doesn't mean anything. Okay. Throw it onto Hashem your Yehavcha, and He will sustain you. Amar Rabba Bar Bar Chana. Oh wow, we go to Rabba Bar Bar Chana. This is like a student of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabba Bar Bar Chana was a relative of Rav. He was Chana is a brother of Rav's father, a brother of Reb Chia as well. He says, Yom Echad, one day, Havi Azilna Bahadi Hahu Taya. I was walking with this like a merchant, like an Arab merchant. That's a Taya. Remember these Gemaras in Baba Basra, Rabba Bar Bar Chana Gemaras? There's a whole bunch of Gemaras where Rabba Bar Bar Chana is traveling, has these wild stories. He's on a boat, and they come to an island, and they get off, and they start cooking, and it turned out it was really a fish, and then it turns over, and they found themselves in the sea. It has really wild stories. So here we have, he's traveling again with a merchant, and Havi Darina Tuna. I was carrying a load of Amrli. He said to me, Shkol Yehavich v'shadi agamloi. Take your load and put it on my camel. So he figured out what Hashtag Hashem Yehavich is. Throw your burden, throw your load onto Hashem, and He will sustain you. So he didn't know what Yehavich was, and this Arab taught him. Okay.
Sometimes it's Eliyahu Navi, right? When it says a certain Arab. Yeah.
So Eliyahu Navi comes in different forms, because we mentioned Hahu Saba was also Eliyahu Navi, right? Okay.
What's the connection?
How did this all come in?
Yeah.
It all started, right?
Something that all of a sudden just an abrupt
It's been like this for a long time. Like it brings down.
Let me see if there's any comment. Otherwise, it's
Yeah.
It's just sometimes there's like you view it like a conversation that they started to say, oh, and I have another example.
One
Here.
Another example of this word and this word.
Right.
Even from the previous stuff.
What is this?
Terms about whether it's a para or a ram. Carrot.
Yeah, there's no
It goes
comment.
back to the understanding of the yovel.
The Yovel. That's
And
how we
then
got
it-
into this.
Yeah, and then it just throws off a whole bunch of
Yeah,
different
a whole
words
bunch
that
of
are
words.
also not understood,
Right. But that are taken from these other dialects. Or something.
but no apparent connection at this point.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, Rabbi Avram Abulafia, I think Rabbi Avram Abulafia, he held that Hebrew is the original language. I guess that's what we say, but that every other language is like unfolding it, so it gets unfolded. So as you translate things into more and more languages, you get like this full picture of what the word really means. You have to get it translated into 70 languages to get the real meaning of a table, let's say, a shulchan, a tish. I don't know what else, tabla in Aramaic maybe. Okay. The new Mishnah. Shefer shel Rosh Hashanah shel Yal Pashat upiv mitzupazav. Okay, this is talking about in the Beis Hamikdash, so it shouldn't throw you off that what's going on over here. In the Beis Hamikdash, the Shefer of Rosh Hashanah was from a Yal, that's a mountain goat, I think, or ibex. Pashat means that it's straight. The horn is not a bent horn, it has this straight horn. Upiv mitzupazav, and the mouth of it, they would cover in gold. They would also blow two trumpets on the side of the shofar. Yeah, we're not familiar with this practice because in our shows we don't do this. Shofar mayrich bechatzeitzis mekatzris. The shofar would be the longer blast, and the chatzeitzis would go along on the side, shorter. Shemitzvah seyem b'shofar, because the mitzvah of the day was the shofar, so those were just accompaniment, but the shofar has to be the longer one. Betinius, they did the same on fast days. They would blow the shofar, and it was fast days usually because of rain or because of some sort of suffering that they were going through. B'shel zacharim kfufim, but over there they used rams with bent horns. Upiyam mitzupa kesef, the lip was covered in silver. Ushtei chatzeitzis be'emtza, and the trumpets were in the center. Do they have one shofar or two shofars?
In the center, it sounds like there's
Right.
multiples.
Sounds like there's two shofars.
There were two trumpets in the middle
Right.
between the shofars. Shofarot. it's plural.
Shofarot, it should be, right?
Yeah.
B'shel zacharim, kefufin. Yeah, upihan, yeah, it's all plural.
So,
Shofar mekatzev v'chatzeitz marichas. The shofar was shorter, and the chatzeitzes were the longer blaster. Mitzvah sayayim b'chatzeitzes.
but here the shofar is in singular. Shofar mekatzev.
Maybe as the instrument. Because the mitzvah sayayim, the mitzvah of the day was chatzeitzes. Why do you say that? Because the mitzvah over there was just to gather the people, and the chatzeitzes, the trumpets, were what gathers the people. Shava hayovel l'Rosh Hashanah l'tkiyo l'brachis. Yovel, which was the 50th year on Yom Kippur, they have a special prayer service. They would have the same tkiyas and the same brachas. The Gemara is going to ask 1 second. We have a whole thing about the creation of the world and all of that. That doesn't happen on Yom Kippur. That was Rosh Hashanah. We'll adjust it. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Rosh Hashanah taken b'shel zacharim." On Rosh Hashanah they used the ram's horn. And on Yovel they used the mountain goat, ibex, whatever, which was the straight one. So Rabbi Yehuda seems to be more what we're familiar with, because we use a ram's horn. We use the curved shofar.
Yeah, always. Oh, that's nice.
You ever see anyone with a straight shofar? I never saw.
I've never saw one before.
Like the trumpet. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Ibex does or doesn't? Oh, what about a mountain goat? I'll tell you, Rashi, when he translates Yal, he calls it Steinbock, like the author, Lahavdil, Steinbeck. I don't know what that is. I don't know what a Steinbeck is. Okay.
Regular goes.
Stein is back. Yes, Dr. Stein walks in.
Also speaking about trumpets, remember Louis Armstrong wore a high under his neck.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Who knew that? Yeah, because it was a old Jewish lady that saw his talent, bought him his first trumpet,
Wow.
and it's a forever
Wow.
recognition. He always wore high.
Wow.
Others were rugged up, but he found
Uh-huh.
out.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with it.
Amar Reb Levi. Reb Levi says, Mitzvah shel Rosh Hashanah v'shel Yom Kippurim b'kfufen. The mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is the ben shofar. He sounds very similar to Rabbi Yehuda, except for the Yovel part, for the Yom Kippurim part. V'shel kol Hashanah b'pshutin. But the whole year they use the straight shofar, which is different than the Tanakama as well, because the Tanakama of the Mishnah said that on the Tainus you use the bent shofar.
But we don't blow the shofar on other fast days.
Right. But if we would make those fast days, then we would probably blow the shofar or chatzaitzos, whichever one. But we don't like just institute regular fast days like in the street. They would gather in the street and pray for rain and
Today we send WhatsApps.
So
V'hatanan, the problem is, this is Reb Levi. Reb Levi is an Amoira. The problem is that there's a Mishnah that says differently than him. V'hatanan shofar shel Rosh Hashanah shel Yal Pashat. The shofar Rosh Hashanah is not a kfufin. It's not a bent shofar. It's a Yal Pashat. So the Gemara answers with Amar Ki Aitana. That's not a problem. He goes like a different source. You can't ask a question on him when there's a machlekes. He'll tell you I follow the other opinion. The Tanya was started in a brayso. Rabbi Yudaimer, Rosh Hashanah. You're taking B'shel Secharim Kfufim. No problem. On Rabbi Yehuda holds. Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Loi. He holds that on Rosh Hashanah you use a bent horn of a ram, which is what Reb Levi said. The Gemara asks, "V'lei mihel chazak Rabbi Yehuda." Oh, yeah. I wonder what animal that's from.
Ibex.
Oh, that's an ibex.
That's Ibex. So that would be like the equivalent.
Oh, wow.
No monkeys.
So we got some gifts over here. This is what Yitzi brings us. Look.
Yes.
Monkeys for the rest of it.
Yeah, what are you trying to
That
do?
looks like a straight.
The world's strongest coffee.
It's close to straight, I guess.
Where are the buns? Where are the buns on the run?
Yeah, you hear where the buns from Benny Friedman. So,
That's what we were looking at. You can buy the Ibex too.
yeah, they're looking up over here the horns of the ibex, if they're crooked, if they're bent, or if they're straight. Yeah. It probably depends on their yichus.
But ibex is not mountain goat, right? Those are two different animals.
Uh-huh.
Curves as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen different translations for the Yal. Rashi says that it's this wild animal that's called a Ashtanbuk, Steinbeck, whatever. And Aruch says that it's a oh wow, female sheep. Yeah, where did I see? You know, there's two animals that they sound very similar. An ayil, which is a ram, and an ayal, which is I think the mountain goat. Ayal, ka'ayal tarag. It's not a ram, right?
I thought it was a deer.
Is it a deer? Uh-huh.
They call it on the, what's it, tail, they skip them out.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the Gemara here asks, Lema Rabbi Yehuda, why doesn't he just say that he's going to pass like Rabbi Yehuda and use a bent horn, a bent shofar rather, on Rosh Hashanah? So the problem is he doesn't really hold like Rabbi Yehuda. He only holds half of Rabbi Yehuda. So you don't want to say Paschal like Rabbi Yehuda because then they're going to think that he really holds like Rabbi Yehuda. So he says on Rosh Hashanah you use a bent shofar. Kamash Malan that it's not 100% like Rabbi Yehuda. The Micah Miflagi. What is the machlekes here regarding if on Rosh Hashanah you use this or you don't use a bent horn or a straight horn, a straight shofar? Mar Savar. This master holds, which is Rabbi Yehuda, Rosh Hashanah, Kama the Kaya finished Daite, Tzvei Mali. Very interesting. On Rosh Hashanah, a person should bend his mind. Rashi doesn't have the word mind. Rashi has Kama the Kaya finish. Yeah, Levi would for sure point that out. He should bend his head, sounds like. When he davens, he should be bent over. The concept is the same, that he's humbling himself. And he also wants to mention Akedas Yitzchak, Rashi says. So we have the bent horn. But Yoivel, B'yemekun Kama the Pashad in Ishtaiti Tzvei Mali. On Yom Kippur, the more straight his mind is, the better. Yom Kippur is calling for freedom. It's talking about the Yovel. Krosem Drar Baretz, everyone goes free, all the slaves go free, and the land goes back. So that's the straight horn. That's the straight shofar. Umar Savar, the Tanakama holds, the one that said that you use a straight horn on Rosh Hashanah, a straight shofar. Rosh Hashanah Kama the Pashad in Ishtaiti Tzvei Mali. That's how we daven. Rashi quotes the pasuk. Nisa levavenu al kapayim. He lifts up his heart and with his hands towards heaven. So it's like a straight. Yeah, that's how he prays. B'tainis kama the kaya finished daiti tzvei mili, and on the tainis it doesn't matter. Why does he have to be more bent on the tainis? It says, well, the idea is that it doesn't matter on the tainis, so we can use a bent horn also. Yeah, I think the discussion over here has to do with what we're doing when we're davening on Rosh Hashanah. Are we looking at the like there's two parts before davening? You're supposed to meditate on the greatness of Hashem and on the lowliness of man. So which one is the main one? So Rabbi Yehuda holds Kama the Kaya finished diet. The main one is the lowliness of man. You look down. You bend down, you're looking like more how humble we are. And the other one is Kama the Pashad in Ishtaiti, we're looking to get closer to Hashem with the greatness of Hashem. That's the Tanakama. Yeah. I'm just making it easy to remember, to simplifying it, otherwise it gets complicated. This one, that one. Okay. Yeah. On top of Chav Zayin. Piv mitzufas of the lip, the mouthpiece of the shofar is covered in gold. But there's a brayse tzipuz of makamanachos piv is pasul. You can't put gold over the lip; it becomes pasul. Shlei b'makamanachos piv is kosher. If it's not over the lip, then it's fine. But over the lip is a problem. Amar Abaya. Abaye answers this. It's not going over the actual place where you put the yeah. So where is it? I don't know. I guess a little bit raised above that.
They sell shofars like that with fancy like silver.
Oh really?
That's the question.
I guess you have to blow the shofar directly. You can't blow the gold. To put your mouth against the.
One is paid and the other is just like an insertion.
Oh, that's what you want to say?
Well, it has a diagram.
Nice picture.
I didn't learn it like that though.
Okay.
He's commenting. Jonathan is saying that if it's plated or if it's an insert, that's a mouthpiece. But I'm not seeing that from the brayse. I'm seeing in the brayse that plated is also a problem. It's not just an insert. Right. Yeah. I'm blowing a shofar. Otherwise, you're blowing something else. Okay. There were two trumpets on the side. There's a problem over here. There's a rule that you can't hear two sounds at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
read in Shulchan Aruch that you have to be like in the actual sanctuary, like the shul itself, and not like in the lobby or something to hear the shofar.
Uh-huh.
I think.
Uh-huh. It discusses that. I don't know if you're not yaitz at all, but yeah, the way the ear works is that it's a drum, so you get the vibration. But if it would be a real drum, if two people would be banging on the drum at the same time, so it would make a different sound. Oh, very nice. Uh-huh. But we're able to actually hear two sounds at the same time because we're not hearing as a drum. There's these little what's it called? There's little hairs in the ear that what's it called? Hairs in the ear. No, I'm talking about this like cilia or something. That you can get different vibrations at the same time. That's the chiddush. So right from the sound waves, you can get different sounds at the same time against the same drum because it's the cilia or whatever that's called that it's picking it up. It's very interesting. The Gemara is saying here that but we say that you can't hear. And Vahatani, we even have a brisa that supports this because it says Zacha v'shamar b'dibracha nemru mashena peyechil l'daber v'noizin l'chil l'shmaya. When Hashem said the 10 Commandments, so one version of it says Zachar, the other version says Shamar, and the Gemara tells us that they were said at the same time, which no one can do, say two things at the same time, and no one can even hear two things at the same time. So if there's a miracle, it was only a miracle. So how can you tell me now? Oh wow. So I don't know if it means the processing. No, it means the actual hearing. So what are you telling me over here that you listen to the chatzaitzers and you listen to the shofar, they're going at the same time? Listen to the answer. The Gemara answers, Lakach marach b'shofar. So that's why you blow the shofar longer. So at the end, after the chatzaitzers stop, you still have the shofar. The Gemara says, L'meimra, you know what you're telling me? According to that, the chishama seif tkiya b'lei tchilas tkiya yatsa. You're telling me that I'm yaitza with just the end of the tkiya. You don't have to hear the beginning of it. Umemela, and that would automatically also tell me tchilas tkiya b'lei seif tkiya is yatsa, that I don't have to hear a whole tkiya. Basically, the tkiya, the sound of the shofar is like broken into like segments into. Right. If you're not hearing it when they're both blowing, that means that you're only hearing one part, and apparently that's good enough. So if you hear the end, it should be good enough. If you hear the beginning, it's good enough. The problem is, Tashma, come and listen.
Something, you're just hearing something that's distorted.
Oh. Uh-huh.
No?
It could be. It could be, but when it comes to like the halachic fulfillment of the mitzvah,
right.
It's
That's
not good
why,
enough.
It's
Right.
it's distorted. It's not
right. So Taka Barishaina, if you blew the shofar before the trua, you blew it tkiya, taka. Umashach b'shniya. And then the tkiya that you do after the trua, you extended it very long, kishtayim, the size of two tkiyas. You can't count those two, that length of the long tkiya gedayla that you did at the end, as if that's going to be the first tkiya of the next set. It would be malchus, sechrayna, shofar. You're supposed to blow 3 times. You can't. Now the problem is what the Gemara is asking is, amai tisalak lebetarti? Why don't you just imagine that it's divided into 2, which we said that if you only hear the end, it's good. If you only hear the beginning, it's good. Guess what? I heard the beginning. I heard the end. It should be 2. The Gemara says, "Psuki tkiyasa mehadadi leipaskinan." We don't divide it. We don't divide the tkiya into 2. The tkiya is a tkiya. That doesn't get divided up. But you could be yaitza with hearing only part of the tkiya. Yeah, that's what we're saying. It's not the tkiya that gets divided. It's your hearing of it that's good enough if you hear part of it. Yeah, I don't know an example for that. if you hear only the end of the bracha or something, you could say amen. It doesn't mean that you can only say half a bracha and it's good enough. It means that what we do three tekiyas, the straight one, and then the shvarim is that, and then the true is that. But now we're doing the tekiya at the beginning, the tekiya at the end. The tekiya at the end was the longer one because that's the beginning of the next one also.
Right.
We say that doesn't work.
Why is there havamina that they're being blown at the same time?
Because
really-
the chatzaitzres and the shofar are blown together.
But why can't it be one and then the other?
Mayrech. The shofar goes longer.
But the mission doesn't really say that though. It says that they were blown on the same day, right? But like it could have been in order. Like they blow the shofar and then they blow the.
No, here it sounds like they're blowing it together.
Okay.
Shofar Mayrech, chatzaitzres mekatzres. Sounds like one of them is extending longer than the other one. Yeah. I hear what you're saying though. You want to say that this is just the music, the orchestra. Say you blow now and then you'll blow later. And yeah, that's not what at least that's not the way the Gemara is understanding the Mishnah. Yeah. I'm not sure where they learn it from. The blowing of the different sounds of the shofar, they learn from the yovel. They learn it back and forth. You know they have to blow the shofar, but what exactly do you blow?
From the mother of Sisra.
Yeah, that's right.
That's to know which is the.
Yeah, that's Yaviv. Yeah.
The other than the that.
Yeah. Because that would be taking away my real obligation. Let's see. We'll see.
Here's the sound being a wave.
Right. And interfering.
Well, the length of it is where you're interpreting at what point of the wave you're coming in to listen, and the beginning of the wave or the end of the wave, whether it's not a point in time, rather it's a continuum because it's a sound and that creates a wave. And I think that's where it's.
So, but when. Actually, I'm not sure about that. No, you don't have to.
The shema goes so far is the bracha.
Yeah.
That's what we do today. That's exactly.
In the Beis Hamikdash, it didn't. You didn't have to go to the Beis Hamikdash to hear the shofar, but the way they did it in the Beis Hamikdash was more intricate. They had the chatzaitzres and.
But this whole practice is not on the listener, it's on the blower.
Oh.
The trumpet blowing in the
Oh.
trumpet, blowing the shofar,
Oh.
don't listen to the
Oh
shofar.
no, I hear. But we're asking. Let's say the people themselves that are blowing the chatzaitzres, are they being yaitz of the shofar, or the other people that are there? What about the other people that are there? Are they able to be yaitz of the shofar with the way we're doing? And they're not going to do it in a way that they're not yaitz. I guess.
Well, the issue is not the people that are listening, the issue is people that are blowing. It seems like it's just to blow the trumpet, to blow the shofar.
The Shema Sof Tekiya, it's Shema Sof Tekiya, with Chila Tekiya. It's it's about the Shmiya.
I think it is
It's
the
about
Shmiya
the-
also.
Well, if that was the case, then everyone have to cut it. If the obligation to hear the whole thing, the opposite.
Yeah, but I mean, the concentration, it's on the Shmiya.
Someone that's deaf.
Right.
If he blows the shofar, is he yaitz of the shofar? If he hears it, he can't hear.
In this case here, in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, where they were blowing the shofar and the trumpet, it wasn't on the listener. It was on the blower. Again, if it was on the listener, then they would have to come down to hear it. The opposite.
No, you don't have to hear the chatzaitzres.
Right.
If you're in the Beis Hamikdash, you're right. In the Beis Hamikdash, there was a way that they did it differently, but you also want to be yaitz of the shofar in the Beis Hamikdash. They're not going to take away the whole mitzvah. Tashema, come and listen. Atakela teichabar, teich someone blows into a pit, or he blows into a what's a dus? A cistern of some sort. Elotecha pitas. Pitas is not a pita. It's a large jug. Imkal shofar shama. If he hears the sound of the shofar, then yatsa. Imkal avar shama. If he hears the sound of the echo, la yatsa. The Gemara says, "Amai lepuk betchilas tkiya mikami del arviv kala." When does the echo start? It has to be a second later. The echo can't start right away. It has to be in the sound coming back. So why are you telling me that if you hear the sound of the echo, you're not yaitza? You were yaitza from the first originally. Fraction of a second is good enough. Yeah, I told you before that as a kid they had read these stories, and then so one of the stories, and it was in third grade. They told us it was this, like, we had it on cards. This guy that before he goes to bed, he lived near a mountain. He would shout out, "Wake up, sleepyhead!" And then 12 hours later, the echo would come back and wake him up. Yeah. So anyway, at the beginning, right, he hears the sound of the shofar. So that should be good enough, because you don't have to hear the whole thing. I know at the end it gets distorted. The Gemara says, it depends. If it's the same person that's speaking or that's blowing or something, so then the same sound, basically, you can't hear if it's happening at the same time. But two different sounds, the sound of the chatzaitzos and the sound of the shofar, that you can hear. I think like musicians can pick out the violin and the whole thing. You could hear the orchestra. They could hear like what exactly is playing. The Gemara says, can you hear from two people? You're saying that's acceptable, and you are able to pick that out. But Tanya, the Torah echad kairei ve'echad metargim. When they're reading from the Torah, one of the person reads the Torah and one person translates. They would do the targum. Ubelvad shalayu shnayim kairei or echad kairei. There's different texts there. Shnayim metargim. You can't have two people translating. You can't have. Okay. So what are we seeing?
Were they doing that simultaneously?
Simultaneously, yeah. In other words, but not the translation was not simultaneous with the reading. That would be a pause. They would take a pause and translate. But you can't have two people translating at the same time. The problem is, why can't you have the translator? So am I asking here? What's the Gemara asking? Oh, that if you have two different people, you should be able to hear it because it's coming from two different sources. You'd be able to pick out the different voices, and it should be fine. That's what Gemara is asking. The Gemara says, "Haleidamya ela seifa." This should be more comparable to the end. It says, "B'halal Megillah filo asara karin." When it comes to halal and it comes to the Megillah, even 10 people together could read. Kivan the chaviv yav daite, hachinam kivan the chaviv yav daite. Because it's something beloved that people really are into, so they'll be able to hear even if there's two people doing it. So now let's go back. We thought that the reason why you extended the shofar was because when this was all over, all this commotion, you'll be able to hear the shofar at the end. So why do you have to extend the shofar if you can actually pull it out, pick it out from all the sounds, because it's chaviv. It says Leida Shemitzasiyim b'shofar. That's just because the mitzvah of the day is shofars. Yeah, you extend it, but that's nothing to do with hearing it. Hearing it, you can pick it out from between the chatzaitzos. Yeah, my wife's great grandfather. No, Mrs. Karlbach's father, Ellie's. So he had a orphanage during the war. He took a bunch of kids. He saved all these children. They were in Vichy, and he was very frum. Anyway, when it came time it was Rosh Hashanah. They were hiding. They were hiding in some village. They wanted to blow the shofar, so they waited for the train to come by. And when the train came by, there was a big rumbling, and they blew the shofar then, so the people outside wouldn't hear it. So I was wondering about this because do they fulfill the mitzvah of shofar if you're hearing another sound at the same time as the shofar? According to Gemara, yes, it's chaviv, then it's no problem. It's chaviv, you can pick out the shofar from amongst other sound.
From
Yeah.
the Talmud Chacham, from and the Talmud.
Yeah, he was very real from person. He made them. He wouldn't let them drink. They had to get Chalav Yisrael. You know, it was. It was very, very from. You can imagine in the middle of the war. It was. Okay. Ubetinius. Actually, I was in Yad Vashem. I was there for some teaching course. Anyway, this lady comes over to me. She says, "Are you Mrs. Karlbach's grandson?" So I said, "Yeah." Like, what's that? So she said, "I was just talking to her because we're doing some research about her father, what he did, and I'm actually giving a lecture in an hour. You can come to listen." So I went into the lecture. It was a bunch of Beis Yaakov teachers and me on the side, and this lady's teaching to them, about the frum people in the Holocaust, because there's a lot of secular things. But so there was this lecture. So anyway, at the end, she said, "Do you want to say anything?" So I just said the story about the. So the lady says, "Yeah, we actually know where that was." And,
Wow.
Yeah.
By the way, from what I understand, the favorite grandson.
Okay. Ubetinius, B'shal Zacharim Kfufim. Where are we holding? We said that. I'm sorry. We said that on the fast days they use the riyam. They use the riyam, which is a bentorn. Upiv mitzupa kesef. The lip, upihen maybe. The lip is covered in silver. It says Maishna Hasam Dezav, Maishna Achat Kesef. Why are we one doing? One is gold. That was the Rosh Hashanah was gold, and the tinus is silver. Maybe the pshat is, if you want, you can say, whenever we do gathering, we use silver. Why? Because they would gather the people, which that's what we're doing on the tinus. They would use trumpets of silver. So we're going to use silver now as well, even though there's a shofar along with it. But we're going to cover the lip with silver, not mamish the lip. Another pshat is the Torah is concerned with it doesn't want to waste money. Now, where do we get that from? Because it says that if someone has tzaras and the kayan is about to pronounce the house, that the house has tzaras, they're going to have to break down the house. So first you take everything out. And then the kayan pronounces it. Now, what's the problem? You can take it out afterwards. And put it in the mikveh if it becomes tamei. No, there's certain kalim that if the kalim pronounces it, it's going to become tamei. You'll have to break them. Klicheres, the earthenware, the clay, very cheap utensils, the plastic, disposable. The Torah wants you to take the disposable, the klicheres out first because it doesn't want you to waste them. Yeah, you shouldn't waste them. So Torah chasam menim shal Yisrael. So the Torah is concerned we shouldn't use the gold; it should be the silver. The Gemara says, well, if that's the case, so hasam nami navet kesef. So why over there they're using the gold? It says afilu achi covered yamtiv adif. No, it comes to covered yamtiv. You see, you hear what's going on? You can't say I'm not going to get a silver becher because it's a waste of money. That's not how it works. It's no for yamtiv for. You spend the money, you make it beautiful, and you don't say Torah chasam and minor. The Torah is concerned about that. Yeah. Rav Papa Bar Shmuel Savar Lemevad Uvda Kimas Nisan. Rav Papa Bar Shmuel wanted to do the way they did it in the Mishnah, which means to have the chatzaitzes blowing at the same time as the shofar. Amalei Rava LaYamar Al B'Mikdash. So Rava tells him that you don't do that. You only do that in the base of Mikdash. Tanya Nami Hachi, there was also a brayso b'medvar Mikdash av b'gvulim makom sheish chatzaitzes ein shofar makom sheish shofar ein chatzaitzes. We even have a brayso that says that we only do the shofar on Rosh Hashanah without chatzaitzes, and if we're doing chatzaitzes, there's no shofar. V'chein hinig. There was also a custom of Rabbi Chalafta b'Tzipori. Rabbi Chalafta in Tzipori. I believe this is the father of Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta. whenever the Gemara quotes Rabbi Yossi. So my only concern about this is that it says that in the conversation, the famous conversation that took place between Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai about the Romans. So Rabbi Yehuda praised the Romans, Rabbi Yossi was silent, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai criticized them. So Rabbi Yehuda becomes the Reish Medabrim, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is sentenced to death, and Rabbi Yossi is exiled. Where's he exiled to? To Tzipori. My problem is his father lived in Tzipori. Rabbi Chalafta b'Tzipori, his father lived there. It wasn't there. So there's another version of that Gemara that he was exiled from Tzipori, not to Tzipori. He was exiled from Tzipori, which would fit. Which would fit with this. That would help me. They also wanted to do this. They also, or maybe they were accustomed to do this, that they had shofar and chatzaitzes together. When the matter came to the Chachamim, Amru, they said, we only do that at the east gate and on the Harabayas, which I think is the same thing. Just want to mention that. Chadamilse, B'shari Mizrach B'Harabayas, or maybe Shari Mizrach for the Ezra's Nashim. That was only done by the temple. It's not done in every city in Tzipori and in Sichni. Another thing about Tzipori is that we know that Rabbi Yossi was the Rav in Tzipori, and we know that his son, Rabbi Shmuel Bar Rabbi Yossi, was also the Rav in Tzipori. The Gemara Sukkah has a story there. Amar Rava, Yitem Rabbi Shua ben Levi Mikra. Where do you see this? That it's only in the base of Migdash. The Ksiv b'chatzaitzes v'kol shofar real lifnei HaMelech Hashem. Lifnei HaMelech Hashem would have been the chatzaitzes v'kol shofar. It's only in front of the king, in front of Hashem, that you blow both together. But otherwise it's just the shofar alone. Okay. Shava Yovel Rosh Hashanah ulebrachas. The Yovel is going to be the same as Rosh Hashanah. That Yovel is the celebration of every 50th year on Yom Kippur, where they pronounce all the slaves could go free and all the land goes back. The prayers that are done then are the same as in the shofar as well, is done for then is done as Rosh Hashanah. Amar Shmuel Bar Yitzchak, Kman Matzlina Neidna Zayem Tchilas Masech Zikaron Liyam Rishon. Nowadays, in our prayers on Rosh Hashanah, we say Zayem Tchilas Masech Zikaron Liyam Rishon. Which opinion does that follow? Kman, who does that go? Rabbi Eliezer, Damar B'Tishri Nivra'ilam. Remember, we had a machlekes Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shua when the world was created. Rabbi Shua held the world was created in Nisan. Rabbi Eliezer held that it was created in Tishrei. So it's only according to one opinion. If it gets really like technical, it says Zayem Tchilas Masech according to Rabbi Eliezer. Make a complicated davening. So, but we're following that opinion, right? What was the story? There was a machlekes. If you say when you finish off Alamechia, if you say Alamechia Val Kalkala, right? Yeah. So someone wanted to follow both opinions. So he said, Baruch Hashem Alartz Valamechia, Val Kalkala Zak Minisht. Kalkala we don't say. He got both in, and so here, what's he going to do? Is he currently in Rishon? According to Rabbi Shua's opinion, we don't say. No, but according to Rabbi Eliezer, we do say. He must have Ravina. Ravina has a question. Shava Yovel Rosh Hashanah L'Tkiel L'Brachas. V'Yekaz Hayem Tchilas Masachas Zikaron Liyam Rishon D'Rosh Hashanah Isa B'Yovel Lesa. What if you're telling me that the prayers are the same Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur? The problem is that today is the first day of creation, is the beginning of creation of man, really. But that doesn't apply to Yom Kippur. How do you tell me that the prayers are the same? So it says Kiktani Ashara. Yeah, besides for that, about everything else. Okay. Rav Shisha Breder Ravidi Masni Hachiyam Rav Shmuel Bar Bitzchak Hadetnan Shava Yovel Rosh Hashanah L'Tkiel L'Brachas. Come on, who does that go like? That Yovel is the same as Rosh Hashanah, like Rabbi Eliezer. It doesn't fit with Rabbi Eliezer. Why not? Dik Rabbi Eliezer, given them Tishin Nivra'ilam, because Ayam Tchilas Masach Zikaron Liyam Rishon D'Brashani Sabi Yovel Kiktani Ashayra. So it's talking about everything else. Basically the same concept. Yeah. According to Rabbi Eliezer, we would say on Rosh Hashanah Zayim Tchilas Masecha, and you won't say it on Yom Kippur. The Mishnah that says Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is the same can't fit with Rabbi Eliezer. So we said no, it could fit with Rabbi Eliezer, but be just besides for that one line. Okay. Shayfer shenistak, the shayfer that cracked or broke into pieces. Bedavku, they glued it together. That's puzzle. Dibik shivri shayfer is puzzle. Let's say you have, everyone has like the cup that has like all, a missing screw and the screw, one screw from this, a screw from that, I think. Anyway, the shayfer broke. They collected pieces in the cup, and then another shayfer. At the end, they put it together.
Is that possible also?
That's also possible. So whether it's one shayfer or a combination of shayfers, it's possible. Nikev v'sasmai. If it had a hole and then they fixed up the hole. Imma akaves hatzkiya puzzle. If it now affects the sound, then it's puzzle. In other words, whatever you filled it up with. Bimlav, if not, it's kasher. Taisus discusses if that's the shot that I just said is correct. This is we quoted this Mishnah a minute ago in the Gemara. If you blow into a pit or into a cistern or into a big jug, and there's going to be an echo that comes from that. Imkol shayfer shama. If you hear the actual sound, the direct sound, then you yaitzev. Imkol avara shama. But if you hear the echo, then la yatze. Then you're not yaitzev. Yeah, in halacha, there's very interesting things. If you're inside the pit, then you don't hear the echo. If you're outside, then you do. But if you're blowing with the tip of the shayfer going out, and you're inside and you're on your way out, and at the beginning you hear, it's really like complex. So, v'chein mi shahaya over acheri beis hakneses. Yeah, this was you were discussing. If someone is walking behind the shul, or shaya beis samach lebeis hakneses, or his house is near the shul. Shama kol shayfer, I call Megillah. He hears the sound of the shayfer or the sound of the Megillah. Im kiven li bayatza. If he pays attention, then he's yaitzev. Im lav la yatza. If he doesn't pay attention to concentrate to be yaitzev, then he's not yaitzev. Afal pish zeh shama v'zeh shama. Even though you have two people there, they're both listening. Zeh kiven libe v'zeh le kiven libe. But this one wasn't paying attention. This one wasn't mechaven. He has to want to be yaitzev. Yeah.
He hears it. He's not hearing it pass. Walking right, just happen to hear it. He's wait, they're going to I want to pay yes.
Kavod is an intention.
Right.
It's his intention.
Right.
We hold mitzvahs shlichus kavana by a deraisa. By deraisa, yeah. So you don't get a straight answer there. Shlichus deraisa. The only yaitza. Yeah. L'chayr, this is a raya that mitzvahs shlichus kavana, no. Yeah. Okay. So let's leave it over here. Right after the Mishnah. Okay, we'll learn at Sunday at regular time, which is 6. Regular Sunday time. 6. Even we have an extra. We gain an extra hour, right?
Yeah.
After we're sleeping an hour later.